Christmas is an annual festival commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, observed primarily on December 25th as a religious and cultural celebration among billions of people around the world. A feast central to the Christian liturgical year, it is preceded by the season of Advent or the Nativity fast and initiates the season of Christmastide, which historically in the West lasts 12 days and culminates on 12th night. In some traditions, Christmastide includes an octave. Christmas Day is a public holiday in many of the world's nations, is celebrated religiously by a majority of Christians, as well as culturally by many non-Christians, and forms an integral part of the holiday season centered around it. The traditional Christmas narrative, the Nativity of Jesus delineated in the New Testament, says that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, in accordance with messianic prophecies. When Joseph and Mary arrived in the city, the inn had no room, and so they were offered a stable where the Christ child was soon born, with angels proclaiming this news to shepherds who then further disseminated the information. Although the month and date of Jesus' birth are unknown, by the early to mid-4th century the Western Christian Church had placed Christmas on December 25th, a date that was later adopted in the East. Today, most Christians celebrate on December 25th in the Gregorian calendar, which has been adopted almost universally in the civil calendars used in countries throughout the world. However, some Eastern Christian churches celebrate Christmas on December 25th of the older Julian calendar, which currently corresponds to January 7th in the Gregorian calendar, the day after the Western Christian Church celebrates the Epiphany. This is not a disagreement over the date of Christmas as such, but rather a preference of which calendar should be used to determine the day that it's December 25th. Moreover, for Christians, the belief that God came into the world in the form of man to atone for the sins of humanity, rather than the exact birth date, it is considered to be the primary purpose in celebrating Christmas. The celebratory customs associated in various countries with Christmas have a mix of pre-Christian, Christian, and secular themes and origins. Popular modern customs of the holiday include gift-giving, completing an Advent calendar or Advent wreath, Christmas music and caroling, lighting a Christingle, viewing a nativity play, an exchange of Christmas cards, church services, a special meal, and the display of various Christmas decorations, including Christmas trees, Christmas lights, nativity scenes, garlands, wreaths, mistletoe, and holly. In addition, several closely related and often interchangeable figures, known as Santa Claus, Father Christmas, Saint Nicholas, and Christkind, are associated with bringing gifts to children during the Christmas season and have their own body of traditions and lore. Because gift-giving and many other aspects of the Christmas festival involve heightened economic activity, The holiday has become a significant event and a key sales period for retailers and businesses. The economic impact of Christmas has grown steadily over the past few centuries in many regions of the world. The exchanging of gifts is one of the core aspects of the modern Christmas celebration, making it the most profitable time of year for retailers and businesses throughout the world. On Christmas, people exchange gifts based on the Christian tradition associated with St. Nicholas, and the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh which were given to the baby Jesus by the Magi. The practice of gift-giving in the Roman celebration of Saturnalia may have influenced Christian customs, but on the other hand the Christian core dogma of the Incarnation, however, solidly established the giving and receiving of gifts as the structural principle of that recurrent yet unique event, because it was the biblical Magi, together with all their fellow men, who received the gift of God through man's renewed participation in the divine life. Christmas is typically a peak selling season for retailers in many nations around the world. Sales increase dramatically as people purchase gifts, decorations, and supplies to celebrate. In the U.S., the Christmas shopping season starts as early as October. Figures from the United Census Bureau reveal that expenditure in department stores nationwide rose from $20.8 billion in November 2004 to $31.9 billion in 2004, an increase of 54%. In other sectors, the pre-Christmas increase in spending was even greater, there being a November to December buying surge of 100% in bookstores and 170% in jewelry stores. And employment in American retail stores rose from 1.6 million to 1.8 million, 2 months leading up to Christmas. In the UK in 2010, up to £8 billion was expected to be spent online at Christmas, approximately a quarter of total retail festive sales. And Merry Christmas.
Is anyone up there? Is anyone out here? Hello? This is fucked. I'm getting too old for this shit. Damn it. Alright, what's next?
gonna go to the bathroom really quick. What are you doing?
Sorry, you scared me. I was just looking at the stuffed animal. It's crazy. I have the same one as a kid, so.
Yeah. Alright, it's fine. Just make yourself comfortable.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Sea witches are traditional folklore characters usually portrayed as women with a magical bond or power regarding the sea, the weather, or other aspects of seafaring life. Sea witches have been featured in European folklore for centuries, also referred to as sea hags. They are malevolent magical beings known for tempting mermaids to give up their immortality for the love of a human. She collects their immortal essence for barter with powerful demons. She possesses a vast array of powerful magic drawn from the brine of the sea. Traditionally, sea witches were witches who appeared among sailors or others involved in the seafaring trade. A sea witch may be presented as a magical or fairy creature such as a mermaid or selkie, or as an ordinary human who uses magic to influence the sea. Their powers ranged from control over the winds and weather or the ability to influence the catches of fishermen, to complete power over the sea, the tides, and the moon. Offending a sea witch by such means as refusing to pay her for her services, insulting her looks, or refusing to acknowledge her powers could end in disaster, as the sea witch might choose to destroy an entire ship. In addition to their powers over water, sea witches were said to control the wind and weather. A common feature of many tales was a rope tied into 3 knots, which witches often sold to sailors to aid them on a voyage. Pulling the first knot could yield a gentle, southeasterly wind, while pulling 2 could generate a strong northerly wind, but the 3rd knot would unleash a hurricane. In some versions of sea witch lore, the witch had the power to call up treasures lost in shipwrecks. In some stories, a grieving widow begs the sea witch to bring to shore the body of a drowned husband, child, or sweetheart, so that it could be given a proper burial. In some versions, this requires casting a coin or a ring into the sea as the witch's payment. A sea witch may refer to a practitioner of a pagan or Wicca group that often uses water when casting spells. The term spell in this sense would be the equivalent of a prayer within the occult spectrum. The term sea witch and water witch may be used interchangeably, though a water witch is often applied to one that dowses for water. In 1997, Llewellyn published a book written by Scott Cunningham named Earth Power, that gave information on natural magic including water magic. The author refers to water magic as a subsection of elemental magic, given water is an element found in pagan and Wiccan practices. While Cunningham divides rain, fog and storm magic into the subheading of natural magic in his book on pg 121, given they are associated to water. Some may believe the acts pertain to water magic and sea witches. A barbarian is a human who is perceived to be either uncivilized or primitive. The designation is usually applied as generalization based on a popular stereotype. Barbarians can be any member of a nation judged by some to be less civilized or orderly, such as a tribal society, but may also be part of a certain primitive cultural group, such as nomads, or social class, such as bandits, both within and outside one's own nation. Alternatively, they may instead be admired and romanticized as noble savages. In idiomatic or figurative usage, a barbarian may also be an individual reference to a brutal, cruel, warlike, and insensitive person. The term originates, which in turn originates from the languages of early Anatolian nations that were heard by the Greeks as bar. In ancient Greece, the Greeks used the term towards those who didn't speak Greek and follow classical Greek customs. In the early modern period and sometimes later, the Byzantine Greeks used it for the Turks in a clearly pejorative manner. In ancient Rome, the Romans used the term towards non-Romans such as the Germanics, Celts, Gauls, Iberians, Thracians, Illyrians, Berbers, Parthians, and Sarmatians. The Greeks used the term barbarian for all non-Greek speaking peoples, including the Egyptians, Persians, Medes, and Phoenicians, emphasizing their otherness. Because the language they spoke sounded to Greeks like gibberish represented by the sounds bar. This is how they came to the word beta alpha rho omicron sigma, which is an echo-mimetic or onomatopoeic word. However, in various occasions, the term was also used by Greeks, especially the Athenians, to deride other Greek tribes and states such as Epirotes, Hellenes, Macedonians, Boeotians, and Aeolic speakers, but also fellow Athenians, in a pejorative and politically motivated manner. Of course, the term also carried a cultural dimension to its dual meaning. The verb barbarizo in ancient Greek meant to behave or talk like a barbarian, or to hold with the barbarians. Plato, Statesman 262, rejected the Greek barbarian dichotomy as a logical absurdity on just such grounds. Dividing the world into Greeks and non-Greeks told one nothing about the second group. Yet Plato used the term barbarian frequently in his seventh letter. In Homer's works the term appeared only once, Iliad 2.867, in the form barbarophonos of incomprehensible speech, used of the Carians fighting for Troy during the Trojan War. In general, the concept of barbaros did not figure largely in archaic literature before the 5th century BC. Still, it has been suggested that barbarophinoi in the Iliad signifies not those who spoke a non-Greek language but simply those who spoke Greek badly. A change occurred in the connotations of the word after the Greco-Persian Wars in the first half of the 5th century BC. Here a hasty coalition of Greeks defeated the vast Persian Empire. Indeed, in the Greek of this period, barbarian is often used expressly to refer to Persians, who were enemies of the Greeks in this war. The Romans used the term barbarous for uncivilized people, opposite to Greek or Roman, and, in fact, it became a common term to refer to all foreigners among Romans after Augustus' age, as among the Greeks after the Persian Wars, the Persians, including the Germanic peoples Persians, Gauls, Phoenicians, and Carthaginians. The Greek term barbaros was the etymological source for many words meaning barbarian, including English barbarian, which was first recorded in 16th century Middle English. The word Barbara is also found in the Sanskrit of ancient India, with the primary meaning of stammering, implying someone with an unfamiliar language. The Greek word barbaros is related to Sanskrit barbaros, stammering. This Indo-European root is also found in Latin balbus for stammering and Czech blolati to stammer. from classical origins, the Hellenic stereotype of barbarism evolved. Barbarians are like children, unable to speak or reason properly, cowardly, effeminate, luxurious, cruel, unable to control their appetites and desires, politically unable to govern themselves. Writers voiced these stereotypes with much shrillness. Isocrates in the 4th century BC, for example, called for a war of conquest against Persia as a panacea for Greek problems.